Tonight, we travel far back in time, not to a battlefield, not to a king's coronation, but to an ordinary morning in medieval England, the kind of morning that never made it into history books, the kind lived by millions and remembered by almost none. Let your breathing soften, let your thoughts slow, and step quietly into a world where time moved gently and life followed the rhythm of the sun. In medieval England, the day began before most modern clocks would even stir. There were no alarms, no buzzing phones, no glowing screens. People woke to light, to cold, or to the sound of a distant church bell. Homes were small, simple, built from wood, clay, or stone. Most families lived in a single room, one space for sleeping, eating, working, and warming themselves. At night, darkness was deep and complete. So when morning came, it felt natural to rise. A medieval bed was not soft by modern standards. It might be a wooden frame with a straw mattress, or simply a pile of dried grasses covered with wool. Families often slept together, not for comfort, but for warmth. As people rose, the first task was always the same: fire. The hearth was the heart of the home. If the fire had survived the night, it was gently stirred back to life. If not, sparks were carefully struck. Fire meant warmth. Fire meant food. Fire meant survival. Breakfast was simple, often just bread and ale. Ale was safer than water. Even children drank it, weak, lightly fermented, and nourishing. Bread was dense and dark, made from rye or barley, sometimes coarse, sometimes gritty. Meals were not rushed, but they were not indulgent either. Life required energy. Soon after eating, work began. In villages, most people worked the land. Farming shaped everything. Men, women, and children all had roles. Fields stretched beyond the village. Open land divided into strips, shared among families. Ploughing was slow, heavy, done with oxen or horses. Planting followed strict seasonal patterns. Everyone knew when to sow, when to wait, when to hope. There was no escaping the weather. Rain, frost, drought, all were accepted quietly. In towns, life moved differently. Craftsmen opened their workshops. Blacksmiths hammered iron. Weavers worked looms. Cobblers shaped leather. Guilds governed trades. They set rules, protected skills, maintained order. Apprentices learned slowly. Years passed before mastery. There was pride in routine, comfort in repetition. The streets were narrow, often muddy. Animals wandered freely. Sounds were soft but constant. Footsteps, voices, church bells marking the hours. Time was not measured by minutes. It was measured by prayer. The church stood at the center of life, physically and spiritually. Bells rang for work, for rest, for worship. Faith shaped daily thinking. It explained illness, weather, luck. People accepted what they could not change and focused on what they could endure. Midday brought another simple meal. Stew was common. A pot simmered slowly, filled with vegetables, grains, sometimes meat. Meat was rare for peasants, reserved for feast days or special occasions. Most nourishment came from plants: beans, cabbage, onions. Food was shared, eaten from common bowls. There were no forks, just hands, spoons, and bread to soak up broth. After eating, work resumed. Afternoons stretched long in summer, short in winter. Children learned by watching, helping, imitating. There was little formal schooling for most. Knowledge passed through example. As daylight faded, activity slowed. People returned home. Animals were secured. Tools stored. Evenings were quiet. There was no entertainment as we know it, but there was storytelling, songs, simple games. Candles were expensive, so darkness was respected. The fire flickered, Shadows danced on walls. Families gathered close. Before sleep, prayers were said for protection, for forgiveness, for another day. Sleep came early. The night was deep and silent. Sometimes people woke briefly, a natural pause known today as first sleep and second sleep. They might pray, think, then rest again. And so the cycle continued, day after day, season after season. Life in medieval England was not dramatic for most. It was steady, predictable, grounded, and in that steadiness, there was a quiet kind of peace. Now, as the village settles into darkness once more, let the sounds fade. The bells are silent. The fire dims. The world slows. You can rest now, wrapped in the calm rhythm of the past. As night deepens over medieval England, the village rests beneath a wide, dark sky. There are no streetlights, no distant engines, only the soft sounds of wind, animals, and the quiet breathing of those asleep. Inside the small homes, warmth gathers close to the hearth. Families lie wrapped in wool blankets, sharing body heat. Sleep is lighter than ours, shaped by cold, darkness, and instinct. Dreams come gently, often filled with familiar images, fields, prayers, simple hopes. Morning will come again soon. When the sun rises, life resumes without question. There is little room for personal choice in medieval daily life. Duty defines the day. Most people are born into their work. A farmer's child becomes a farmer. A baker's child learns dough and ovens. A blacksmith's child grows accustomed to heat and iron. This continuity brings comfort. There is security in knowing one's place. Change is slow, very slow. News travels by word of mouth, sometimes carried by travelers, sometimes announced by the church. When something unusual happens, a bad harvest, a strange illness, a royal decree, it spreads quietly, village to village. Fear is often collective. So is resilience. Women in medieval England carry enormous responsibility. They manage households, prepare food, care for children, tend animals, work in fields when needed. Their labor is constant, but rarely recorded. Spinning wool is a daily task. Hands move automatically, thread forming as thoughts drift. Clothing is precious, repaired again and again. Nothing is wasted. Water must be fetched, sometimes from far away. Bathing is rare, but cleanliness is still valued in simple ways. Washing hands, faces, and feet when possible. Health is fragile. A small injury can become serious. Illness is common. Medicine is basic. Herbs, prayers, and home remedies are trusted. Doctors are rare. God's will is often the explanation. Despite hardship, laughter exists. Festivals break the routine. Holy days bring color, music, and food. On these days, the village feels lighter. Children run freely. Adults share stories and drink ale. For a brief moment, life feels generous. The church calendar shapes the year. Fasting days alternate with feasts. Work pauses for worship. Time bends around belief. Inside the church, stone walls echo softly. Candles flicker. Voices rise together in prayer. Even those who cannot read understand the stories told in stained glass and sermons. Faith is not questioned often. It is lived. As seasons change, so does daily life. Spring brings planting. Hope returns to the soil. Summer is long and demanding. Days stretch endlessly. Bodies tire. Autumn is busy and tense. Harvest must succeed. Winter is quiet, cold, introspective. During winter evenings, people sit close to the fire. Tools are repaired. Clothes are mended. Stories grow longer. Voices soften. Outside, the world sleeps. Life expectancy is short by modern standards. But this does not mean life is rushed. Time feels wide. Days feel full. People focus on what is near, the home, The field, the parish. There is comfort in limits. Hierarchy is accepted. Lords rule. Peasants serve. Kings feel distant, almost mythical. Most people will never travel far from where they were born, and yet their lives are rich with routine, meaning, and connection. There is an intimacy with nature that modern life rarely allows. People know the feel of soil, the sound of wind before rain, the quiet warning of a hard winter. They listen more, wait more. As night returns again, the village prepares for rest. Doors are barred, animals settle, candles are extinguished, prayers are whispered. The darkness is complete, and within that darkness, there is safety, a world moving slowly, a life shaped by rhythm, not urgency. Now, let your thoughts slow as well. Imagine the fire fading, the village breathing softly, time stretching gently forward. You are safe here, held by the calm weight of the past. Sleep comes easily now, and medieval England rests with you.